Officer, I wasn't speeding. I was just remembering. He said it with a gentle, apologetic dignity, hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel, eyes carrying something heavier than the afternoon sun warranted. The sedan had been drifting between lanes on Route 7, not dangerously, just the particular drift of someone whose attention had gone somewhere other than the road. Officer Ethan Carter, 38 years old, had seen this kind of drift before. He had learned in 16 years of patrol to tell the difference between recklessness and sorrow. He leaned on the window frame. "Sir, are you all right?" The old man looked at him, 79, white-haired, wearing a pressed shirt that had clearly been chosen carefully for the morning. "I'm fine," he said. Then, with the honesty of someone who has decided that pretending costs more than it's worth, "I'm not sure that's true, actually. Today was the first time I drove this road alone." Ethan turned off his recorder. He had learned also when to do that. His name was Walter Brooks. He had driven this road every Sunday for 23 years with his wife Margaret. Coffee at the small cafe outside town. The same table, the same order. 52 years of marriage, and this road had been theirs. Margaret had passed the previous November. This Sunday morning, Walter had decided to try. He had made it 11 miles before the memories had found him. Ethan stood at the window of the car on the shoulder of Route 7 and listened. He had a report to complete. He had 2 more patrol hours. He had at home a daughter who waited by the window, and parents who missed him, and a wife who understood, but was also, slowly, learning to stop expecting. He stayed. "She used to pack the coffee wrong," Walter said at one point, with the soft smile of someone taking an inventory. "Too much milk. I never said anything." He paused. "I'd give anything for too much milk now." At the autumn light on the trees, at an old man in a pressed shirt, who had driven 11 miles on the strength of love, and had run out of that particular fuel right here, on the shoulder, with a police officer who had been about to write a warning, and had instead stayed. "Do you have family?" Ethan said. "A daughter," Walter said. "Emily. She's in Boston, finishing her master's." He said it with the specific warm pride of a parent, whose whole face changes when their child is mentioned. "She calls every evening, without fail." A pause. "A father doesn't measure love by how often his child comes home. He measures it by whether she still remembers to call." Ethan looked at him. "She remembers," Walter said, "every evening." They were on the shoulder for 22 minutes. Ethan knew because he checked later, when he was writing his shift report, and had to account for the time. 22 minutes on the shoulder of Route 7, with a 79-year-old widower who had been on his way to a cafe he would enter alone for the first time. Before Walter put the car in drive, he looked at Ethan with the clear, unhurried eyes of someone who has been through the large things and has arrived at the other side of urgency. "You have family waiting," he said. Not a question. "Yes," Ethan said. "Don't wait until life slows down to make time for them," Walter said. "One day you'll realize life never slows down. It simply moves on." He said it without drama, the way true things are said when the person saying them has earned them. Ethan gave him a verbal warning. He made sure Walter was steady. He shook the old man's hand properly, not the professional handshake, but the other kind, the one that means something. He watched the sedan pull back onto Route 7 and continue toward the cafe. He went home that evening before his shift officially ended. He had logged out early for the first time in 3 years. He had not called ahead. Sophie heard the door. She came from the kitchen at the specific speed of a 6-year-old who has been told too many times that Daddy would be home late, and who was therefore not entirely ready to believe the sound, and who then believed it completely the moment she saw him in the doorway. She ran into his arms. He caught her the way parents catch children when they understand, for the first time in a while, what the catching is actually for. Olivia came from the kitchen with flour on her hands, and an expression that was trying to be neutral, and was not entirely succeeding. His mother, Helen, appeared from the sitting room with her glasses on her head. His father Richard came from the hall, with the unhurried pace of a 68-year-old man who had stopped expecting things to happen and was now recalibrating. They sat for dinner. Ethan turned off his phone. He was not different that evening in any dramatic sense. He was simply present, the version of himself that had always been capable of this and had been postponing it with the reliable logic of next week, which became next week, which became the shoulder of Route 7, and a man in a pressed shirt who had 23 years of Sunday mornings in him and one morning of driving alone. Several months later, a graduation photograph appeared on Walter Brooks's refrigerator. Emily, in her cap and gown, holding her diploma, standing beside her father in their kitchen, the one that had been quiet for too long. She had not gone to Boston after the ceremony. She had come home. Walter had not asked. She had simply walked through the door with the diploma in one hand and the suitcase in the other, and he had stood in the kitchen, holding the moment as though it were something he might accidentally break. "I found a position," she said. "Here, close." She set the suitcase down. "I thought I'd come home." He looked at her, at the diploma, at the door she had come through, at the kitchen that had remembered how to have someone in it. He did not have words. This was fine. Emily had his hands. She had always had his hands, and she took both of them in hers, and that was sufficient. Ethan and Walter never crossed paths again. They didn't need to. The 22 minutes on the shoulder of Route 7 had been exactly the right length for the thing that needed to happen. And the thing that happened was not a dramatic change, but a quiet correction, the kind that doesn't announce itself, and yet shows up in every family dinner, and every early shift exit, and every turned-off phone for the rest of a life. Whenever work became overwhelming, Ethan remembered the pressed shirt, the too much milk coffee, the old man's eyes on Route 7 saying, "It simply moves on." He went home on time more often after that. Not every time, but more often. And Sophie stopped waiting by the window quite so long. Don't wait for life to slow down. It never does. The person waiting for you at home deserves the same officer, the same firefighter, the same fully present version of you that you give to everyone else. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.